The looming question in California, how to tame the flames to be less catastrophic. The answer might come from nature itself.
One of the things that we realize is that our native ecosystems are some of the best ways to protect our communities from wildfires.
Julia Michaels is the restoration ecologist at Hedgerow Farms outside Sacramento, where they collect seeds to grow the fire-resilient grasses that covered California before the humans moved in.
We see that the native plants burn slower at a lower temperature, so planting native species can mitigate some of the risks of wildfire.
Their idea, plant a new landscape with fire in mind.
California is a state that has fire, and it's really all about what kind of fire do we want to have. Do we want to have, suppress, and then every, decade, a catastrophic wildfires? We need to work with fire and not against it, but seeds play a major role in that.
The 2015 Butte fire left a 70,000-acre burn scar. Native seeds brought it back to life, safer in roughly 6 months.
One of the things we could do is actually use fire. So after a fire is a really great time to seed. And you almost have like a blank slate. It's a chance for you to nudge the ecosystem and the direction that it recovers in the direction that you're interested in.
At this burn zone in Solano County, they're using drones to drop seeds into scars. But the process doesn't have to be so high-tech.
We're just scattering seed.
Farther north, it's a more Johnny Appleseed approach. The campfire that destroyed the town of Paradise tore through the pine forest here. Officials want to grow a fire-resistant ecosystem in its place.
The high-intensity fire we had that was the result of the land being so out of balance, now we're trying to restore a ground cover that will carry that kind of fire that will sustain the forest.
And how do you do that?
In order to be able to give the land that regular low-intensity fire, we want a little less brush and a little more of the light fuels that will carry low-intensity fire to help nourish these oak trees.
Back at the farm, we'd put it to the test. Native versus invasive plants, which would flare up and which would flame out. First, our hedgerow farmer lit the California species.
There's an ignition resistance. Just to get the fire started is harder. The crackling was the water in the tissue of the plants. When fire hits it, it's hitting water, it slows it down. And that was crackling and making some steam.
Then those foreign grasses, which have sprung up all over the state.
And the non-native vegetation, as we burn it, you can see how hot, how quickly it's moving, just sort of a snowball effect. The more it burned, the hotter it got. I mean, it looked like a bomb had gone off, right?
It was insane.
It was a lot of fuel. That's what we've got in a lot of our hillsides, some which are very close to, the homes where people are living.
Fire may be a fact of life, but it doesn't have to be our destiny.
Do you see what you're doing as something that eventually will help the situation or take root into something that's more sustainable for all of us?
Action is the antidote to despair. I've accepted in my lifetime that California, the state that I love, will always be on fire one way or another. But, I can plant the seeds of change.
I mean, it's so fascinating to see. Steve Patterson joins us here in the studio. So, Steve, is this a story of evolution and then man coming in and introducing something that, burns a lot faster? That's wild.
So to speak, yeah, because native plants, they retain water better. You saw in that example, right? Those plants that were burning that are actually from California, they were crackling because they have that water, so they give off more steam, so they burn a whole lot less. I don't want to bore you with the whole history, but Julia, the person in that story, told me basically it was the colonists who came to this country, wanted to feed their cattle, and so they brought plants from the Mediterranean. They're more brittle, they're more flammable, and they cover pretty much the entirety of the state.
Yeah, and they were not used to the Santa Ana winds that we get down here.
Exactly right.
I mean, so how do you scale up what they're doing there?
Yeah, so thankfully it's already happening. That Hedgerow Farms, the people we interviewed, is part of a larger network called the Native Seed Group. They're all over the country, really most of the West and then moving into the East. They're doing this really anywhere they can, trying to put more native seeds into the ground. And so we have a much more resilient structure covering the West.
Yeah, fire-resistant Johnny Appleseed. Steve Patterson, what a
That's the plan.
story, man. Thank you so much.
You bet.
We thank you for watching. And remember, stay updated on breaking news and top stories on the NBC News app or watch live on our YouTube channel.